what? I'll never forget it because it was so outlandish. That one article they were citing over and over was that immigrants were crossing the border and bringing all kinds of diseases and whatever else. And eventually that turned into a weapon also for the COVID virus. It's all bunk. And yet they repeat it so many times that people start believing it, and it's so sad.
Yeah.
If anything, immigrants have been bringing a lot of doctors and nurses to the country to help us survive our own China. But anyway, so I guess to put their teeth out so that people check their sources so that at least they can be aware that, don't believe everything that's put out, and especially question as to what the agenda is of every group. And I would, to be fair, even with the pro-immigrant groups, we should do the same. Always check their references. Always check if they even put in footnotes, because things are mishandled a lot by everybody. But I think that from what I've read, the numbers, the studies are pretty positive towards what immigration has said. So anyway, this Chip guy, I don't know if he deserves any more time, but he's certainly there. So
Yeah.
Well, it's good to be aware of him and that he's not working on behalf of the immigrants. But
yeah. Does anybody know where Miller ended up?
What? I'm sorry.
where Miller ended up?
Where Miller ended up, since he was
Well, that
really the agenda maker on immigration for Trump era. I know that he was running for office, but I don't really know where, why has he been so quiet? He hasn't won. This is not his bag anymore. He was obviously doing it for money, but
I hear him referenced in stories every now and then, but I never noticed what it was he's doing these days. But he's still doing stuff, and he's still making statements and things like that. It's just, he's apparently not in a position that even the news media pays that much attention to, which is good.
Yeah, that's good. Doesn't have the megaphone anymore.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I was just thinking about it, reading the bits and pieces you just showed there, how I think part of Trump's success when he ran the first time was that his messages were actually really good. They were very simple. Build the wall. They were like clear. Here's my response to immigration. Build the wall. Here's my response to foreign intervention. Let's not. Here's my response to other countries. America's declining influence around the world. Let's put big tariffs on imports, and he had like really clear, really stupid if you looked into them, but they were really clear, simple, direct statements about what he intended to do. And he doesn't have anything at all like that this time, and I'm not sure exactly what he's running on or why he's so popular, because he really has nothing except he's angry that he lost the last election. That's it. He wants revenge. I mean, it's like he has no new ideas at all. The few things I've heard him say are just outlandish.
I found one of them. In June, he suggested blowing up migrants' boats with drones. Into this Guardian article.
Yeah. I mean,
DeSantis.
and part of it, I think, sorry, but I was just thinking, part of it is that at least Trump doesn't have the same unfiltered access to all our media like he did. I mean, it took them at least a couple of years to call him a liar. And so he got a chance for a long time to put out his stuff, no matter where it was. And he repeated the same junk. I think now Trump, at least from the media I read, is mostly not that he's filtered, but they only put up the most outlandish stuff because we already know his other stuff. What is newsworthy? Well, not his same old junk. So is there anything he says that makes sense that would call it new? I don't know.
It's never made sense.
It's true.
It just struck me that it used to be at least very clear. And that makes good political messaging because it's simple. You don't have to, or at least you don't feel like you have to understand much past the surface. You look at the surface of the problem and somebody says, well, it's dark. Tom's on here and it's dark. Turn on the light. That's the answer. It's simple. And everybody goes, oh, great. Well, yeah, he should just turn on the light. And then you're done. But, that maybe I don't have any lights, or maybe, none of that matters because it's a simple problem. It's too dark. Turn on the light. We have too many immigrants. Build a wall. He just had these like things that were like that, and I think that was a real key to his success. And I'm just not sure what he's going to run on this time. And immigration stuff just seems to be all over the place right now. There's no clear, just like Republicans don't have a clear message on abortion anymore at all. They also don't seem to have a clear message on immigration, other than that they kind of don't like it and really think we ought to do something about it, but they don't ever really say what, other than.
Well, actually, I just found in Axios Trump's new agenda on immigration. And I think it's rhyming just with what you said. Now he's putting out stuff that it's got enough specifics to basically say it's complicated, which is where Democrats always trip over themselves. Because on the Republican side, it was a very clear message, but it was often lies.
Oh, yeah.
That is, it was based on such bogus stuff, but it sounded good, and so they repeated it over and over. The Democrats, and I'm not calling them any more honest, but there's enough Democrats that won't agree with the simple lie that they trip and they fall. Whereas here, just leave it to the one with the mic to say it simply, and people rally around it.
Yeah.
So.
People want simple answers to complex questions.
Yeah, it's problematic, but yeah, it's true.
And the less educated they are, the more they believe that simple answers make sense. So young people tend to be like this. I mean, no offense against young people. They are very smart, but they don't have a lot of experience. And so they often have these very simplistic ideas like, well, let's just get rid of the government and start over again. The government's a big mess. Let's just get rid of everybody and start over. That stuff like that just doesn't, it's not that easy. And I don't know. I think that Republicans have been getting away with this simple stuff for a long time, and now that it seems like they're kind of stumbling over themselves a lot. You've got DeSantis wanting to send American troops or drones or something after drug gangs in Mexico. Like, you can't attack a foreign country like that.
I think he was going
selectively.
Them in Mexico.
Yeah. Well, Vivek is saying the same thing, and messaging too that I just put in the discussion chat.
Oh yeah, he's full of.
They all want to send the U.S. military to Mexico.
Yeah.
I can tell you from the Mexican side, because I've been reading up to situations. The U.S. is all over in Mexico anyway. But it's the CIA, it's the whatever, it's on the spy side. And they are monitoring the drug lords as much as they can. That is, to have physical presence over there isn't going to make a difference. But the second one is, if there's one thing Mexicans are very clear is, this is our soil.
Yeah.
And any country would be, but especially Mexicans having been invaded and having lost Texas, Utah, California, it's like, no, you know, you can buy off Chihuahua, but you can't come in
Yeah.
without paying your price or whatever. But yeah, I think that for Republicans to repeat that line about the drug lords, it's just crazy. But I used to say that about the wall. So
Yeah. Well, in this case, it's not Trump saying the simplistic and idiotic stuff. It's Ramaswamy or DeSantis or somebody else, you know.
no, let me read it to you.
Is Trump saying it too?
Trump says complete the border wall,
Okay.
but then he says designate drug cartels as unlawful enemy combatants to allow U.S. military to target them in Mexico.
Ah,
The
okay.
U.S. has used that designation to justify long-term detentions of 9/11 suspects at Guantanamo Bay, but he's also used it to go land a bomb or two in Iraq. So anyway, it would be a poor justification, and as soon as a fragment of anything U.S. would show up, I mean, that's a line that anyway. Even in hypothetical, it sounds completely the wrong way to go for anybody to do.
Yeah. So the Democrats, on the other hand, are they just afraid to they're not united, and are they afraid to touch the subject, or?
I think so. Well, they're leaving it to Biden so that he can do or die, you know, but let him define the policy because they don't really know what to do.
Uh-huh.
Well, there are a lot of topics. I think the drug situation is very similar to the problem of homelessness in that there are so many different reasons why people use drugs and why illegal drugs continue to flourish and proliferate beyond, you know, where they were before. Just as like there's many, many reasons why people are homeless, and it can be economic, it can be mental health problems, it can be alcohol and drug use, you know. So there's not a solution to it. There are a number of solutions to it, and who knows if they will work or not, because we only try things up to a point and then go, oh, this isn't working, and then we try something else, or we just keep trying, like the war on drugs, even though it's not working. You know, it just sounds good, so we can't afford to stop, so we just keep doing the same thing over and over again. But yeah, you know, if you suddenly made me king of the world, I wouldn't have a solution to any of this stuff either. I don't think there is.
That's the part. There isn't. Let me read very quickly the Democrat platform.
Okay.
It's 4 little paragraphs long. The first one is just the intro, and Trump is full of hate. But they say, thanks to President Obama, hundreds of thousands of dreamers, and so they give themselves a pat on the back over that. And then Democrats will continue to work towards comprehensive immigration reform that fixes our system, places value on families. And the last one says, Democrats know the importance of our country's history as a nation of immigrants. We honor our fundamental values by treating all people who come to the United States with dignity and respect. And we will always seek to embrace, not attack immigrants. And that is the platform. That's it. No specifics, no anything else.
Well, that sounds great. Let's vote for that, and everything will be fine.
Yeah.
Well, I guess if on the opposite side your specifics are build the wall and send drones after immigrants in boats and, you know, things like that, then might as well just have a few feel-good paragraphs and call it a day, because the other side is not offering anything of any value either. So
Yeah. Actually, one thing that I find, so I do TikTok very much as a reaction. Lisa sends me a TikTok, which then grabs me, in that I don't have a way to get out without and it'll pump me more things. But TikTok will often target me and then give me, it'll profile me and then give me what I want. And one of the things that I seem to want,
Oh, he just froze again.
on the Mexican side of the border. So if you ever want a good laugh, just tell TikTok to give you border walls, but from the Mexican side. Because we see the people lined up at the wall. The wall is very high and mighty, or there's a ICE vehicle or a border patrol vehicle going right by, and the wall is there, the sunset, whatever. But on the Mexican side, you have people, I remember one that says, "Oh, it's the 2 o'clock shift." And these guys come, roll up to the wall, they take out their ladder, they hook it up all the way to the top, and then they have a race amongst 2 or 3 guys to see who can get to the top the fastest. And they're filming it as a contest, like the reality shows in which they have a contest, over obstacles.
Mm-hmm.
Well, somebody out there is having lots of fun just creating how fast can you climb the wall and get to the other side kind of deal. It's kind of fun.
Well,
Or the holes, or, people, especially the very young people that will wiggle themselves through.
Uh-huh.
And it's like, how could you guys not make it at least, narrow enough so this wouldn't happen? It's crazy. But on the other side, it was like kind of like it was for us here. It's a joke, or drive up to the end of the wall and then just walk around the wall.
Yeah.
It's just crazy how
Around it.
they're shown from that point of view. It's beautiful, actually.
Mm-hmm. That sounds interesting. I should check that out.
Once you look at one or two, you'll see that it'll just feed you the algorithms.
And that's all on TikTok.
Well, not only on TikTok. I imagine the same thing happens on YouTube. Certainly Facebook is now with its own little things now to shorts or something they call them. But they're all imitating TikTok.
Mm-hmm.
Except they're not as good as TikTok in profiling you. TikTok measures the milliseconds. If you watch something for too long, it'll feed you more of that.
Oh, wow.
So anyway, wanted to show you this one because we want to be based on facts. See what you guys think. This is the nearest survey from Pew.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see if I can make it. I guess it's the same thing, but the question is, who say each is a blank important goal for the U.S. immigration policies. So we may not know the answers, but we can take poll on to see what people think. This is still from last year. Here, I think I see the ambivalence. There's a lot of people that are worried about security, but they're also not wanting to kick out. Establish a way for immigrants here illegal to stay. 25 plus 35 is 50. And that's important for them.
Mm-hmm. So the Republican messaging has been successful at giving people the notion that there's something wrong at the U.S.-Mexico border. People don't necessarily know what it is, but something is wrong. Something is bad there. So they think more security will help, is what I'm seeing from this. But they don't really understand it. They don't know what's wrong. And when they're asked about immigration generally, then they have more of a nuanced feeling about immigrants and how they should be treated and all that stuff.
I would say it's not just Republicans. By this time, Democrats too. What is happening at the border? How does it make sense? Who can? I mean, the people in Central America are also watching the border.
Yeah.
Today, there was an article in Mexican newspapers about somebody asking, there's a picture of people from India being deported from Mexico and being sent to El Salvador. And they're saying, this is the second time this week that I've seen another plane full being shipped to El Salvador. Why are Indians being sent to El Salvador? Was his question.
These are people from India?
From India. So
Huh.
in the chatter, it must have been on Reddit, in the chatter, other Mexicans beef up the situation. They say, number one, of the countries in Central America, El Salvador is the one that has a no visa policy for India. No visa required. And therefore, if Indians want to get close, not to the United States, but to Canada.
So that's
Other person clarifies that it's not, the U.S. is not the target necessarily. But the other fact that comes through is that Mexico has a policy of returning people from whence they came. And therefore, if they're trying to fly from El Salvador to, through Mexico, Mexico will, when they return them, when their visa is not non-existent, or when they get caught at the border, they find out where their last place in their passport is and ship them there. Because they should not have left that country without a visa into Mexico. And so Mexico deports them, no matter where they're, if you have the one gave an example, if you have a ticket that says India, Colombia, El Salvador, and then they get caught in Mexico, Mexico ships them back to El Salvador, not to Colombia and not to India.
Yeah.
It's wherever they embarked, the last country that they embarked from, that's where they get shipped. So anyway, it was a curious question that somebody would put up so many Indians coming into Mexico and they're being shipped to El Salvador. It's just a crazy thing until you find out what the policies are.
Yeah.
So another interesting India thing is that, and I read this probably in the New York Times, that Canada is poaching our Indian tech workers. If they get laid off in the U.S., they have to find a new job within 30 days or go back to India. Canada will give them a much more generous time to find a new job. And so they're poaching them from the U.S., bringing them to Canada, and gaining all these high-tech workers that hopefully will feed into their system. And it's like, they're really smart and we're really stupid.
They're very smart in many other ways. I have a friend who just migrated from Mexico, from Chihuahua, my hometown, to what's the nice town? Vancouver. And so as a result of that change, I'm on the Canada Reddit, Canada Immigration. There's a lot of very unhappy people right now in Canada, judging from this sub, about the housing crisis that they're having. And then he says, and then the government keeps on importing people. Surely we need workers, but if you bring them and we don't have housing for them, we all end up paying a large premium because we have a big housing shortage. And, but their policy, immigration policy, is quite generous. So we end up with it. So
Yeah, the funny thing about these housing shortages here and in Canada both, I think, is that it's housing in certain areas there's a shortage. There are lots of small towns and lots of houses in small towns that are empty, but nobody wants to live there. So
Because
in
there's
the big cities where everybody wants to live, there's a housing shortage because everybody's trying to move to Vancouver or, whatever, because that's where the jobs are, that's where all this stuff is. So I don't think it's so much that there's a housing problem overall. It's just that there's a housing problem in the places where people want to live. I think we're still just contracting to urban areas and moving away from small towns generally.
yeah,
There's a lot of houses around. If you go driving out around the central Illinois, you'll go through a lot of little towns and see a lot of empty houses, empty farmhouses, empty buildings that could have businesses in them in these small towns. There's just nothing there. And then you come here and we have these discussions about needing more and more housing because everybody wants to live here. They don't want to live in Sodoris or, some of these.
Actually, our friend Stacy Harwood, Dr. Harwood, did a great paper on the hollowing of the Rust Belt cities and how that's where immigrants have been filling in the donut. But I haven't seen any recent studies, but I'm sure they're out there. If anything, downtown Urbana has the new restaurants are immigrant led.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And
there's some interesting
it's
places.
kind of interesting. Not that I will reject any Mexican restaurant. Now we have Encanto opening up this week, and it's Mexican Peruvian, which okay, I'll take it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a positive. We have about 5 minutes left on the thing. It hasn't flashed us, but I'm glad we got back together.
Yeah. Thank you. This is great.
Carolyn, any wrap-up words? Carolyn, anything you've...
well, I mean, we talked about there's a lot of lies out there. There's a lot of other things that people need to know that don't get put out there, except, like how many immigrants are starting new businesses and, I don't know. How do we get that word out?
Yeah,
Well, like this. This is a way.
Yep.
this is a way. That's right. Next week, maybe we can talk about the Welcome Award winners.
Yeah.
Like next week, things will be very, very public, and it'll be nice to just record or even invite one or two of them to come talk with us.
That would be great. Yeah. Is anybody going to record the event itself?
Yes.
Yes,
Good.
the city of Champaign will.
Mm.
And I'll share it with the city of Urbana. So it'll be up eventually on the city of Champaign website,
Okay.
and maybe on the city of Urbana site as well, I think.
Yeah,
So
it goes on their YouTube also.
Good. Then we don't need to do anything. But yeah, it'd be great if we can get some winners on here. That'd be fine. We can talk to them.
Let's do that. Kind of cool.
I like it.
All right. Well, things are starting to fade out into different colors.
Well, yeah, you are kind of changing colors here.
I'm trying to hit the off button, but I can't find it.
I'm straight red over here, orangey red. That stayed the same color the whole time.
Yeah. Carolyn looks much better than us, but
Yes.
it's okay. All right, guys. Well, you have a good night.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Take
Appreciate
care.
it.
All right.
See you tomorrow. Bye.
Bye.